On today's show, we are going to discuss all the latest news from around the NFL. What does it mean? And how is it changing our rankings? Let's get into it here, Evan. Start with story number one, which is Keenan Allen coming off the street, signing with the Chargers, reported as a 1-year, $8.52 million deal. I wasn't able to find how much of that is guaranteed, but 1-year, $8.5 million deal to return to the team where Keenan Allen spent the first 11 years of his career. And by the way, in 2023, not that long ago, Keenan Allen played 13 games with Justin Herbert. He went 108, 1243, 7 in 13 games there. Now, I understand there's a lot's changed. He went to Chicago, put up some pretty good counting stats. I thought he looked pretty washed in Chicago. Underlying stats were not good. He comes back to the Chargers, and now we have a different regime here, the run-centric Greg Roman Harbaugh regime. Evan, what'd you think of Keenan Allen coming home to the Chargers?
Yeah, it's a big deal. And I know that no one wants to hear this at this stage of the offseason, but I mean, it also doesn't matter how much money of this is guaranteed. Like, they're not going to cut Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to get that $8.5 million, and that's a decent chunk of change for a guy who I mean, obviously is on the downside of his career and is 33 and a half years old. But he's going to have a major role, I think, right away. He's already obviously played with Justin Herbert. He had 121 targets last year for the Bears. I would be surprised if he doesn't get at least 80 targets for the Chargers this year. And that's something that is going to affect other players. I mean, I had to move Ladd McConkey down a little bit. Because it's not a team that has a huge target pie to begin with, and now you're jumping in with a guy who's probably going to get 80 to 100 targets. I mean, that's a significant deal.
Chargers were 28th in raw pass attempts last year. So to Evan's point, there's not a ton of targets to go around here. I think it's even more complicated than this. Like, Keenan Allen earned targets last season at the expense of Rome Odunze and DJ Moore, which I thought was a horrible decision, what the Bears were doing. But Keenan Allen is a guy for his entire career who earns targets. Whether he deserves them or not, I agree with Evan. You could definitely see him start earning significant amount of targets here. The other issue that Evan alluded to is Ladd McConkey. I think he can play anywhere, right? And we talked about with Matt Harmon about this. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't think he was best in the slot. And at this point in Keenan Allen's career, I know people are going to say he played outside for the Bears last year. He's going to practice outside. I feel like Keenan Allen has to play in the slot right now. Outside is an absolute mess. So, I don't want to get down on Ladd McConkey. If you want to move him down a couple spots, I'm okay with that. We stayed here at 23 overall on Ladd McConkey, which is just behind Drake London, ahead of Tyreek Hill and T. Higgins. Silva, what do you think about this whole slot conversation with Keenan Allen, that him and Ladd play the same position?
I think that Ladd McConkey will be the Z receiver. I think that we talked about it with Harmon. Ladd McConkey played a lot of outside at Georgia, and one of his most common comparisons was Emmanuel Sanders, who was very much a 50-50 slot perimeter receiver during his career. I think Ladd McConkey is going to be a lot better than Emmanuel Sanders. But that's the kind of archetype of receiver that Ladd McConkey is.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be able to win outside. But yeah, I mean, a few fewer layup routes and that target squeeze all of a sudden with Keenan Allen entering the offense. I mean, those are concerns for Ladd McConkey.
Evan went to 124 overall on Keenan Allen here. We in the ETR rankings are at a 140 overall on Keenan Allen. I don't think it's going to be like exciting production, but like Evan said, if you need someone on your team that can get 5 or 6 targets, maybe 7 targets in a game, I don't disagree that Keenan Allen can get you that. It's going to be.
I don't want Keenan Allen in redraft, but I do think that he is very draftable in best ball. I think that he will have some games where he gets 7 to 9 targets, maybe a lot of games where he gets 7 or 9 targets, and that can be useful as like a wide receiver 6 as part of your wide receiver of your wideout stable in best ball. I went down to 26 on Ladd McConkey.
Yeah.
So I now have him as an early 3rd round pick in 12-team leagues.
The Quentin Johnston situation, I thought he was going to play Z for the Chargers. And as Evan said, now Lad McConkey is ticketed for a ton of Z. So I do not think this is good for Quentin Johnston. I also don't think it's great for whoever wins the X battle between Trey Harris, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Jalen Reagor, because it's just Keenan's going to suck up targets. It just is what it is. So I've been backing off. I haven't taken a ton of any of those guys anyways, but Quentin Johnston, Trey Harris, KLS are guys that I think deserve to be downgraded in the wake of this. Any more thoughts there, Evan, before we move to the
KLS is Keandre Lambert-Smith, who
Yes.
had a big Hall of Fame game and has been buzzing since camp opened. Daniel Jeremiah was really, really high on Keandre Lambert-Smith coming out. And actually, Matt Harmon has been high on Keandre Lambert-Smith. So he has some support. Apparently, what he struggled with at times in college was getting off press coverage, but he got off press coverage in the preseason opener, and he's been buzzing all camp.
Yeah.
I think that he has a legit chance to maybe win that X role. Not that that's going to lend itself to a ton of fantasy production, but I mean, I think he's a guy that could get on the field. I mean, he's definitely been outplaying Trey Harris to this point.
It would be surprising to me if a 5th round rookie beat out a 2nd round rookie for the exact same role, but they're calling it an open competition, so is what it is. Okay. Speaking of the Chargers, horrible news. This team has run so bad with injuries for basically my entire lifetime. It feels like they've just been running bad on injuries. One of the worst ones of the preseason so far, left tackle Rashawn Slater will be out for the season with a torn patella. Now, Thorne dropped the Chargers offensive line in his rankings. You can find those in the draft kit, down from 10th to 25th. I was talking to Evan before the show. He seems to think that may have been an overreaction from Thorne, in his opinion. Evan, what do you think the impact of the Rashawn Slater injury is on Chargers for fantasy?
I mean, Brandon Thorne is the man. I consider him like a friend in real life, and everything else. I think he overreacted here. I think that they can still have a pretty good offensive line, actually. One of the things that the Chargers have is legitimate depth on the offensive line, and that's not something that a lot of teams can say. The Chargers can say that pretty confidently. First of all, they're going to kick Joe Alt, who was a stud as a rookie, the number 5 overall pick in the 2024 draft, 2-time first-team All-American in college.
Shout out Notre Dame.
He is going to move to left tackle, which is where he kind of always should have played. That's his position. His dad, John Alt, was like a 10-year NFL left tackle, I believe, for the Chiefs. And Joe Alt is a left tackle by trade. So they're still going to have one of the best left tackle situations in the league. And then you look over at right tackle, and they signed in the offseason Mekhi Becton, who has a lot of experience at tackle. They have him at right guard right now. They might not move him, but he is an option to play right tackle. They've got Trey Pipkins, who stinks, but has a lot of experience being tried at right tackle. They've got Jamari Sawyer as an option. He has started games in the league. He was a starter in the SEC at Georgia. They also have Andre James, who has started games for the Raiders as a backup center. They can move him to center, Zion Johnson to guard, Mekhi Becton to right tackle. I mean, they have a lot of options. This is a Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh coach team. They are going to get at least competent offensive line play. I definitely don't think that this is the world-ending thing that it felt like it was at the time, because Rashawn Slater is such a stud. Losing him to a ruptured patella tendon, that sucks, man. That really sucks. But the Chargers are actually equipped to absorb an injury like this.
Well, and they also have a month to get ready, right? It's not like this happened in week 3 and they're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? They have a month to try out different things, see what works. So, we did put a slight doc on Chargers team efficiency, which flows through to the rankings. It didn't get us that much lower on Chargers stuff, but a little bit. Evan, did you downgrade Amari Hampton or any other Chargers at all in the wake of the Slater news?
I did not. I thought about it. I looked at the rankings. I'm like, no, I don't want to move Amari Hampton any lower. I still want to have him at 25 overall. So a very, top of the 3rd round. I'm still smashing that button for Amari Hampton. He's still going to get volume. He's going to catch passes. They still have really quality quarterback play. The only move that I made based off the Slater injury was I just moved Justin Herbert down to quarterback 12 right behind Bo Nix. So he's like a fringe fantasy starter, but I mean, that's kind of where I had him anyways. But no, I didn't make any moves to the notable Charger skill position players off of this injury because I think that the Chargers can absorb this.
Yeah. ETR ranks were at 27 overall, so very close to Evan on here on Amarian Hampton. We'll get to the Najee Harris update here a little bit later. Last thought on the Slater thing. If the offensive line does struggle, maybe more short targets, right? Which would be better for Keenan, Hampton, Ladd than it would for KLS, QJ, whatever else, Trey Harris. So just want to put that out there as last note. All right. Let's go to story number 2, which is Matthew Stafford's back injury. This is a tough one for me to get my head around, Evan. Stafford has not participated yet in camp. He missed a scrimmage, which the Rams take seriously because they don't play their starters in preseason games. The diagnosis on Matthew Stafford is an aggravated disc in his back. He received an epidural, which, a lot of people are making fun of him on Twitter, like, is he pregnant or whatever? Obviously, a lot of us only know about epidurals from our partners or wives being pregnant. But anyways, this is a long history of back woes for Matthew Stafford. 2019, fractured bones in his tailbone. 2022, spinal cord contusion, had numbness in his leg. Last October, Stafford had some lumbar issues, and now this disc issue. Despite all this, Rap Sheet, Schefter, McVay, the Rams, they're all saying they're not concerned. Stafford's going to play week 1. I know that a lot of other people out there are much more skeptical. So, Evan, what do you think about the current situation with Matthew Stafford's back?
Oh, I was so tempted to make a men can get pregnant joke there about the epidural. We'll avoid that for now. Matthew Stafford is, 37 years old, dealing with back stuff. I mean, it's terrifying. And he matters so much. They do have one of the best backup options, I think, in the league in Jimmy Garoppolo. So there is a bit of a floor there for the Rams offense as an entity. But he is such a difference maker. It's scary to try to draft Devontae Adams right now. It's a little bit scary to draft Puka Nacua. It's a little scary to draft Kyren Williams. Matthew Stafford swings so much in terms of upside. Again, I think that there's still a decent floor for those guys because of Garoppolo. But if Stafford misses time, like the upside just goes way, way down for everyone involved in the Rams offense. And they score a lot fewer touchdowns.
I thought Puka was an awesome pick in the first round. I've since backed off a little bit where I take Nico over him. I've taken a little bit of Amon-Ra over Puka just out of the fear that Evan's talking about. And it's so close in the first round. If you have any fear whatsoever, I would not blame you for going that route. We went to 12 overall in the ETR ranks here on Puka. Evan, did you? Yeah, it looks like you went down to 13 overall on Puka and 35 overall on Devontae Adams for now. I will say that latest report from Thursday was Stafford will have a workout Saturday, aka tomorrow. And if all goes well, he'll return to practice Monday. McVay reiterated if this were a game week, Stafford would be cleared to play. So I'm not in a full-blown panic on it, but when it's real close there between like Puka, Nico, Puka, Neighbors, Puka, Amon-Ra, I'm okay playing it safe for now.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, we do still have a month until the first game. So we got some time here. Last note on this, Jordan Rodriguez, who is like super tied in with the Rams organization, covered them for The Athletic and other publications. She said that she would get worried about Stafford if he was not available for, I can't remember who they're playing. They have like an inter squad deal with another team right now. It might be Dallas. I don't know. But if he was not ready for that, because the Rams don't care about preseason games.
Right.
Stafford was never going to play in the preseason game, but they do care about these team-on-team scrimmage stuff. And Stafford was not ready for that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there definitely should be concern. The good news is we've got a little bit of time.
Okay. Story number 3 also comes from the Rams. Kyren Williams, 3 years, $33 million extension, which included $23 million guaranteed. Now, it's not like huge money. It's only 3.9% of the Rams salary cap, but Kyren is now 7th among all running backs in average annual value. It's just a bit confusing because they used a round 3 pick on Blake Corum last year. And then we have Les Snead just falling all over himself to hype up how much he loves Jarquez Hunter. But we can't take this Kyren Williams extension as anything but they love this dude. They love him. We knew this. Evan, any reaction to the Kyren extension?
They love him, and he's so good in pass protection, and he's like a team leader type. And they kind of just, I'm sure they care about his inefficiency as a runner, but at the end of the day, they're just going to keep playing him because they trust him in every facet of the game.
Yeah.
And so they're going to live with his 3.9 yards per carry.
And he fumbled a bunch last year, and they still went back to him.
That's right. So the fact of the matter is that's going to be the case. And they've also never shown any even capability of getting another back consistently involved.
Yeah.
So they used the 3rd-round pick on Blake Corum. He barely plays. They used his 4th-round pick on Jarquez Hunter. I think he's probably going to barely play, barring an injury to Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams is the dude for the Rams.
Yeah, we didn't make any moves on this news, but we were already at 33 overall on Kyren Williams. Evan is a little bit lower at 45 overall. I think that might be a little bit related to the Stafford docs that you put on there, getting Kyren down to 45. But yeah, again, we're at 33 overall on Kyren. Expect him to be a workhorse again, just period. Let's go to, actually, if you have a fantasy draft coming up, and I know you do, we can help. It's really gotten insane. We have more than 20 full-timers and another 30-plus part-timers helping us with one goal, make the most accurate predictions possible about fantasy football. Our draft kit is just $49.99, includes in-season trade calculator, dynasty trade calculator, Silva's top 150, all our rankings, Thorman's in-season ranks. I know I'm biased, but it's insane. It's just $49.99. I complain to corporate every day about the price. Check it out in the subscribe tab on establishtheRun.com. Let's go to story 4, Evan. Khalil Shakir sustained a high ankle sprain. So this happened around August 1st. McDermott said that the timeline is 4 to 5 weeks, and they think he has a pretty good chance to be ready for week 1. I still have some concerns around Khalil Shakir and this high ankle sprain. This is the same ankle that he had a bad sprain on last season. I already had questions about his ceiling given his painfully low ADOT. And then their playoff schedule, the Bills, is brutal at New England, at Cleveland, versus Philly. So you add the high ankle sprain on top of all that other stuff. I've been pretty lukewarm at best on Shakir, but his ADP is falling now. Silva's got him down to 133, an aggressive doc here from Silva. Go ahead on Khalil Shakir's.
Yeah, by the way, I'm going to start the shy away list real soon, and Khalil Shakir is going to be on that. You mentioned his second high ankle sprain on the same ankle. And even when he's healthy, and he's a good player in real life. He's a really good football player. He doesn't bring much upside to the table. This is a team that believes in using a rotation of 5 receivers. Now, Shakir was the number 1 last year, but they have a bunch of guys that they can play. They've got Curtis Samuel, Elijah Moore has generated some buzz in training camp, and then Keon Coleman and Josh Palmer. I did move Josh Palmer up a little bit, and I think that Josh Palmer is draftable. I've been drafting him a little bit. He can play in a very similar role to Khalil Shakir. He has played inside quite a bit in the NFL. They gave him a decent amount of money this offseason. Remember that free agent market at wide receiver was like just the worst I've ever seen. The worst free agent wide receiver market that I've ever seen. So some guys got overpaid. Palmer probably got overpaid, but they did give him a chunk of money. And I think that there's a chance that he could open the season. If Khalil Shakir is not ready for week 1, Josh Palmer could open the season leading the wide receiver core in snaps.
Yeah. Shakir made a pretty good comeback from that high ankle sprain last year. So he at least has some history rehabbing from it, coming back and playing pretty well there. But yeah, tough spot. Again, Silva down to 133. We stayed a little bit higher in the ETR ranks, up here at 90 overall, around Pittman, around Josh Downs, Shaheed, Mooney, etc. But yeah,
is that the Leone Bills bias?
Yeah, we'll find out. By the way, we need to do that Q&A following the man versus machine debacle next week. Story 5. Anthony Richardson starts the preseason opener for the Colts, dislocates his pinky when he got lit up on a free rusher that he did not see or avoid. So going into the game last night, I actually thought Anthony Richardson was trending towards starting week 1. I was giving him like a 65% chance of starting week 1. This pinky injury doesn't sound like a big deal. They're calling him day to day, expected back at practice within the next few days. The problem for me is all they've talked about all offseason is availability, consistency, reliability. And since then, Anthony Richardson left OTAs early with a shoulder injury and now can't finish this game due to a pinky. So it's getting like harder and harder for me to stomach Anthony Richardson, projecting him for a lot of starts, even though I think they should give him a lot of starts, and this injury doesn't seem too bad. So, Evan, what do you think of A-Rich last night, and any more thoughts on the pinky situation?
Did you see Chase Daniels' breakdown of that play?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, this was totally Anthony Richardson's fault. He had 2 receivers open on the play, including his hot read. He has got to get the ball. He's got to see the rusher, first of all. It was his fault for not seeing the unblocked rusher. He's got to get that ball out to his hot read, who was open on the play. So it's not even just the injury. It's like Anthony Richardson got himself injured, basically. I mean, if you believe what Chase Daniels' analysis, which I tend to. So we'll see how this goes. I think at the end of the day, like, we're going to see 2 or 3 quarterbacks make starts this year for the Colts. It's just a matter of time. It doesn't matter who starts week 1. The other guy's going to go in there. It's just going to be a musical chair situation at quarterback in Indianapolis. I
mean, they're leaving the games early thing. And this has happened just off the top of my head like 4 times to Anthony Richardson already. And he's only been in the NFL for, this will be his 3rd year. I still think he's a reasonable pick if you can stash him on your bench in redraft leagues, because anytime he starts, he's going to be a good play. But
oh yeah.
But it's getting harder.
It's going to be funny. Like, people are going to have drafted, I don't know, Baker Mayfield, and then Anthony Richardson is going to start week 1, and they're going to like be starting Anthony Richardson over. I mean, they're going to be like, should I start Anthony Richardson? Yeah. Like, yeah, you should.
Right.
Even though you drafted, Baker Mayfield as the quarterback 8. Like, I feel like that's inevitable.
For sure. It's just getting a little harder for me on Richardson, even though the last week or so, as my confidence was like gaining that he was going to start week 1, I was taking more and more Richardson. And then after last night, I'm like, man, I better back off a little bit in best ball. I don't want to take too many zeros, or the risk of too many zeros here on my team. All right. Oh, by the way, also one other note from that Colts game. Tyler Warren, shout out Penn State, plays the first 20 snaps.
Beast.
Never comes off the field, gets 3 official targets, catches all 3. Also had a 4th catch that was called back by penalty on a screenplay. Silva's at 98 overall on Tyler Warren. Again, like, I really like the idea in redraft of 2 tight end. If you don't get one of the elite tight ends, 2 tight end rooms with like a veteran, Goddard or Njoku, and then pairing them with one of the upside rookies. Sounds like Evan is much higher on Tyler Warren than Colston Loveland. We'll talk about Loveland here more in a second, but I do like pairing one of the veterans with one of Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland.
Yeah, Tyler Warren, holy crap, what a beast. I mean, it just reminded you all those plays that he made at Penn State. 20 out of 20 first-team snaps. It looked like they're already running the passing offense through him. And I don't want to overreact too much to the first preseason game, but we know that this dude is really freaking good. Like, we know that. And also, there have been reports, like from Mike Chappelle, that during Colts training camp, like, so many balls are going to Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
So that reiterates that. I mean, again, I still think you kind of want Daniel Jones in there.
Yes.
For the sake of Tyler Warren. And we don't know who the quarterback is going to be. But, man, I mean, I've been clicking him a lot in my best ball drafts.
Yeah, love Tyler Warren. All right. Let's go to story number 6. So Dan Graziano went to a bunch of training camps, including the Bucs. And one note caught my eye from Bucs camp. It was a Bucky Irving workhorse note. Here's what Graziano said. They love that guy, referring to Bucky Irving. And while they also like Rachaad White and have a role planned for him, Irving is viewed by people in the building as special enough to warrant a high-volume RB1 role that includes pass-catching work. Now, I didn't think that quote was worth enough to move rankings on. We already knew Bucky was a special talent. We saw when the Bucs' backs were against the wall last season, they rode Bucky as a true workhorse. My question has always been, do they actually think that he can touch the ball 20 times a game for a full season? This report gave me a little bit more hope that maybe that's within the range for him. But yeah, Evan, what do you think of this quote on Bucky, and how would you compare him to guys like Chase Brown, JT, etc.?
I have JT and Chase Brown fairly significantly ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the concern that I have with the biggest concern I have with Bucky Irving is the offense maybe changing, although they did promote Josh Grizzard from internally. So you think that the offense shouldn't change very much, but I do think that losing Liam Cohen is at least a mild concern. And the Tristan Wirfs injury, which we just talked about, Rashawn Slater. Like, the Bucs do not have Joe Alt that they can move to left tackle. They have to play Charlie Heck at left tackle if Tristan Wirfs misses regular season time. So that is still a concern, I think, for the entire offense. They scored a lot of touchdowns last year. The Buccaneers did. They scored a ton of touchdowns, and I don't know if they're going to be able to repeat that.
The guys that go around Bucky Irving, like, I feel really good about Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, Josh Jacobs being like true 3-down workhorses. I feel pretty good about it on Bucky, but not as sold on the workhorse role. But man, he's such a special talent. I think he belongs in there with that group. Again, Silva's at 23 overall on Bucky, just ahead of Jacobs and Hampton, but behind JT and Chase Brown, as he mentioned. Let's go to story number 7. Oh, God. Ranon is feeling the full wrath of the fantasy community right now. I guess he did some show, and they asked him, who do you like between Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scatterbo? And Ranon said, it's 100% Tyrone Tracy. Scatterbo hadn't even received a lot of first-team reps when he was healthy. I don't think there's really any competition, and Scatterbo's not healthy now. Tyrone Tracy is going to get the majority of carries. I texted Ranon to get some more context on this, and despite being my good friend for literally more than 20 years, he didn't reply to me for like 30 hours. I think he's just like so angry at the fantasy community for going after him about this quote, because the people love Cam Scatterbo, that he had enough. I think, he had more week 1, more early season on his mind than late season. Obviously, when we're drafting, our job is not just to try to win week 1 and figure out who's going to start week 1. It's to figure out who's going to score most points over the course of the season, with back-weighted production being more valuable. I saw, Silva, you have stuck with Tracy only one spot ahead of Cam Scatterbo here. We did dock Scatterbo a little bit more in the ETR ranks. What do you think about this battle and the Ranon quote here?
Yeah, it's tough because I love Cam Scatterbo. But I think that this is what happened. I don't even know if it was this past Monday or the previous Monday. I'm getting all my weeks and days mixed together at this point of training camp. But it was like, all right, so the Giants had an off day on a Sunday, and then they came back on Monday, and Scatterbo was getting first-team reps, maybe his first first-team reps of any training camp. And then it was either that day or the next day he pulled his hamstring. So yeah, he hadn't received a lot of first-team reps over the course of camp. It looked like he was just starting to get that opportunity, and then he goes down,
right. And
it's a multi-week hamstring injury, which is freaking horrible for a rookie. So, I mean, everything that Jordan said makes sense to me. And then it's just going to be a matter of Cam Scatterbo getting healthy. I think that once he is healthy, he's going to be hard to keep off the field for the Giants. But there's no question that Tyrone Tracy right now is in the driver's seat for week 1.
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate what Ranon told me, he said Scatterbo is definitely going to play a role, but Tracy is the guy, at least at the start. He also told me Russ is going to dump down the ball constantly. Giants running backs are going to catch a lot of passes. So
yeah, the one issue I have with that is that Russell Wilson running backs have never really caught a lot of passes, but I'm sure that he's doing that in training camp. Tyrone Tracy has the wide receiver background.
Yeah.
And Cam Scatterbo is an awesome receiver as well. So they will be capable of doing that. That just has never – Russell Wilson, he takes a lot of sacks on third down. He's not necessarily dumping off.
I mean, I haven't taken a lot of Scatterbo because I actually thought Tyrone Tracy, given the situation last year, was pretty good. And Cam Scotty was still a 4th-round pick. So, I haven't taken a lot of Tyrone Tracy either, but now he's starting to steam up a little bit. It's just a really tough spot, I think.
Yeah, I was taking a lot of Scatabo, and then like ever since this injury, I started taking some Tyrone Tracy.
Okay. Story number 8. The Bears came out with their preseason depth chart. And believe me, these things are typically totally worthless. I just wanted to note this Bears preseason depth chart because Ben Johnson put it out, assuming Ben Johnson's the one that put it out. He put it out with them in 12 personnel and 2 tight end personnel with Colston Loveland starting. And whatever you say, it doesn't matter. It's a preseason depth chart. Colston Loveland starting on the depth chart. Doesn't matter. Every other rookie that the Bears have were totally buried on the depth chart, including Luther Burden was buried on the depth chart here as well. And it's also not great for Luther Burden, I guess, that they put 2 tight end personnel as their main formation here on the depth chart. Colston Loveland is not ranked for Silva, which it surprised me, Silva, just because you had Tyler Warren at 98 to not have Colston Loveland ranked. I kind of think of those guys a bit closer, but it sounds like you think there's a big gap there between them. Any more thoughts on the Bears preseason depth chart here in Loveland?
I mean, I have Colston Loveland ranked. He's just not in the 150.
Yeah.
Because I don't rookie tight end. Cole Kmet is still there. They've got a bunch of receiving options. I mean, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, obviously Luther Burden, Olamide Zaccheaus. I think we'll see about Luther Burden, but I think that there's a chance that Olamide Zaccheaus opens the season with a role.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Colston Loveland is going to get enough balls to be a big time factor. And I feel pretty confident that Tyler Warren is going to get that based on training camp reports, based on what happened in the first preseason game. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing the boat on Colston Loveland. That's possible, but there's not enough certainty for me right now to go all in on a rookie tight end.
Yeah, well, I would say I can make the same argument about Luther Burden, who you have ranked 104th, that I don't even know how much this guy's going to play. And even if he does play, there's a ton of target competition. And we have some questions about how well Caleb Williams is actually going to play this year also. So I've been higher on Loveland around 120, 130 than Burden around 130 or so. But yeah.
All right.
Let's go to, one more Bears story here. Story number 9. Rashawn Johnson, ESPN wrote, Rashawn Johnson feels like a lock to be the Bears' short yardage / goal line running back again this year, and also on third downs, where he played 51% of those snaps last year. So there's been people out there, I forget who it was. I think Thorman told me he got 200 to 1. They're all trying to do your bet, Evan, when Evan won the 100 to 1. David Montgomery lead the NFL in touchdowns. Thorman got 200 to 1, I believe, on Rashawn Johnson to lead the NFL in rushing touchdowns. Certainly sounds like he's going to be their goal line back. There is a hive of Kyle Monangai fans out there who seem to think that he's going to push DeAndre Swift and Rashawn Johnson. I think that I take more Rashawn than Swift or Monangai. Let's put it that way. What do you think about Bears backfield right now, Evan?
I have Rashawn in by the way, I'm going to have to, after that call out, I'm going to have to move Luther Burden down.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah. Bury him. Just bury him. I mean, Kyle Monangai is like a 4.6 guy and a 7th round pick. I mean, not a very good athlete. I don't know what that's all about, but I'm not betting on that guy. I'd rather bet on Rashawn Johnson, who I think is at least decent, already has the goal line role, can be functional in the passing game. Again, this offense is not – I'm not like super excited about this offense right now. I think it's going to struggle out of the gate for sure, and it might be a season-long struggle.
Yeah.
So I'm not excited about this situation.
Yeah. I mean, the question is how many goal line carries is Rashawn Johnson actually going to get on this?
Also,
Bears
it looks like they're going to start a second-round rookie at left tackle, Ozzie Trapillo, who everyone thought was a right tackle only. Like, this offensive line is not fixed. I'm shocked at how high some people have the Bears' offensive line ranked.
It sounds like Evan.
There's a whole lot of confidence in this offense that is not warranted.
Well, they spent a lot of money, and I think that, There's been a
Yeah,
lot
I
of money on
mean,
their offensive line.
and you can poke holes in all those guys. I mean,
Yeah.
Drew Dahlman is a better run blocker than pass blocker at center. Um, at right guard, they got Jonah Jackson, who played in 4 games, got benched last year already, has been kind of in and out of the lineup in training camp. Joe Tooney is like really old. I mean, this offensive line is not fixed. This offense, I think it's a concern. They also have a really tough schedule
Yeah.
out of the gate. They'll probably progress as the season progresses and get better, but I think it's going to be a struggle to start the year.
I think like the upside case for Rashawn is he plays the David Montgomery role in this offense. You know, a
Right.
share of the base work and then a lot of the goal line work. As Evan mentioned, first 2 games out of the gate for the Bears, home versus Minnesota and then at Detroit. First 2 games there for Caleb and the Bears. Let's go to story number 10. I'm actually kind of tired of this Travis Hunter stuff already, but it's so interesting because it's like never been done before. So people keep talking about it. Liam Cohen said that Travis Hunter could play around 80% of the offensive snaps. Through 12 practices, Travis Hunter had 302 snaps on offense, 246 on defense. Shout out to ESPN's Michael Duraco for charting that, doing the Lord's work. I would also note that in the Jaguars preseason depth chart, they listed him in a spot where it looked like they were listing their slot receivers. And so I actually thought that kind of makes sense, right? Put Travis Hunter in the slot. It limits his snaps. If he plays the Jaden Reed role, you know, like he has a big impact when he's out there, but not quite as many routes as the other receivers. That makes sense to me to use Travis Hunter in 3 wide receiver sets, mostly for sure, just like Jaden Reed. But Evan, any reactions to Liam Cohen's quote, and how aggressive are you right now on Travis Hunter?
I'm super aggressive on Travis Hunter. I'm trying to be the most aggressive in the entire industry. I had him at wide receiver 32 previously, which you could get him there. I moved him up to wide receiver 24. I think that there is a legitimate chance that he could be, and I love Brian Thomas, and this is going to be sacrilege considering how high I have Brian Thomas, that he could be the best receiver on the Jaguars right away. I mean, Liam Cohen is so excited about this guy, talking about how he could play 80% of the snaps on offense. I think he's going to be an offensive player out of the gate. I think that they've kind of decided that, and then he's going to be a package player on defense. I'm really, really excited about Travis Hunter. He's going to be a monster right away.
Okay, yeah, I've got warmer too. We talked about kind of my take on it on the Harmon pod. Silva's up to 47 overall here on Travis Hunter. I think we're lagging a little bit behind in the ETR ranks. So yeah, we're at 58 overall on Travis Hunter in the half PPR ETR ranks. Let's go to story 11. Jordan Addison's suspension officially comes down. Officially 3 games. Now that was pretty much known. We didn't have any big docs. I will say though, in the best ball market, it's just so obvious. Like everybody already knew he was going to miss 2 or 3 games, and then it becomes official, and now you can get him 2 rounds later than you could before, at least a round later than you could before. Still was at 82 overall on Jordan Addison here. I think we should talk about Rashee Rice in the same breath here. Evan, Rashee Rice suspension still not known. We're projecting around 5 games suspension for Rashee Rice. There's a report out there the Chiefs are expecting 4 to 6 games. So how do you think about these 2 guys for redraft, Evan? Obviously, if you have a spot where you can keep them, like an IR spot, they're a little bit more valuable. But what do you think about Addison and Rashee Rice suspended guys right now?
Yeah, I'm also anticipating 5 games for Rashee Rice. The good news on Rashee Rice is that the reports have been really positive about his health. He's been balling in practice. He's going to be the number 1 receiver whenever he comes off suspension. He's going to go in there right away. He's locked in. Yeah. So I feel really good about drafting him. It's just hopefully he gets fewer games, but I feel really good about him coming back and being an impact player immediately.
Yeah.
With Jordan Addison, it's not as clear. We do know the length of his suspension, 3 games. We don't know how good J.J. McCarthy is going to be. We don't know if this is going to be a run-first team. There is more target competition this year for Jordan Addison than there was last year with T.J. Hawkinson healthy. So I'm a little lukewarm on Jordan Addison. I mean, I think he's an okay pick, but he's not really someone that I'm trying to get aggressive on.
I mean, the one good thing you can say about this is it's not like an injury where you come back and maybe you need a ramp up period, maybe you get an aggravation. I mean, these guys should hit the ground running. So I still like Jordan Addison. Sounds like a little bit more than Evan does. And yeah, Rashee Rice, like to take him in the 50s, you need the right build, like a lot of early wide receiver production. But man, he could be a real hammer down the stretch or just midseason through the stretch for Rashee Rice. Let's go to story number 12. The Justin Fields reports have not been good, Evan. I hate this like camp stat stuff, and I don't trust beat writers really at all, most of them, in terms of ability to evaluate who is actually playing well at an NFL practice. But it's been pretty loud that Justin Fields in the pass game has been struggling through the beginning of camp. Also doesn't help that Mason Taylor, who was supposedly having a pretty nice camp, he goes down with a high ankle sprain. Have you moved down Justin Fields at all, Evan? Are you worried about these reports coming out of Jets camp?
No, I'm not surprised by him. I mean, he's not a timing and rhythm passer. We're drafting him for his rushing anyways. And it's really not surprising. I mean, they've got Garrett Wilson and then nothing else. I mean, Josh Reynolds is a blocking receiver. Tyler Johnson might be a starter for them.
Honestly,
Tyler Johnson has been on like 15 different rosters. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm being hyperbolic there, but that dude has bounced around. They don't have a lot of talent in the passing game. They're not going to be a team that wins with the passing game. They know that. We should know that. I don't think that Justin Fields is going to light it up as a passer now or during the regular season.
I'm not worried about Justin Fields. I am getting a little bit more worried about Garrett Wilson. We're down to 41 overall on Garrett Wilson. Evan is at 37 overall on Garrett Wilson. Yeah, I mean, guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba, Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, even maybe Xavier Worthy, I would consider over Garrett Wilson personally. But yeah, I mean, DJ Moore shoved it down my throat that season with Justin Fields. So it's not like certainly within the range of outcomes for Garrett Wilson to pay it off where he goes kind of third round there. Let's go to story 13. Joe Flacco reportedly the strong favorite to open the season as a starter for the Browns. Pickett's been hurt. Gabriel's been hurt. Shador is going to play like 50 snaps. You know, Joe Flacco opening the season as starter, that's great. The tougher part for me on Judy and Njoku Tillman is how many starts is Flacco going to get? Because when they go to Pickett or Gabriel or Shador or whoever, I'm not sure I'm going to want to start in a redraft league Judy or Tillman. And Njoku probably still okay. The bar at tight end is so low. But yeah, it's just hard to parse. Like, but I'll say this for those guys. Flacco starting week 1, it's got to be a positive. Evan, any thoughts on Brown stuff right now?
Yeah, I mean, whenever Joe Flacco is starting, you are going to be able to use David Njoku and Jerry Jeudy, and to a lesser extent, Cedric Tillman, and maybe the backs, like with a level of confidence. But what happens with Joe Flacco is that, and this is what has happened the last several times that he got playing time, like he will kind of play well for a few games, and then he will really sputter off because he's not good anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, again, this is a team I think is going to make, start multiple quarterbacks over the course of the season. I think they definitely want to give Kenny Pickett a shot at some point. As soon as he gets healthy, I bet we start seeing him get first team reps, and he'll be the second guy in line once Flacco peters out. It's just going to be a bunch of different quarterbacks playing, and this team is not going to score many touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, they were the worst offensive in the league last year, and I think they're going to be one of the worst again.
Yeah, Silva's at 78 overall on Jerry Jeudy, 136 on Njoku. Cedric Tillman not ranked for Silva. If you promised me, though, that Flacco was going to start 17 games this year, I would have all those guys higher, but
that's not happening.
It's not happening. So
that's not happening. If we get 7 starts out of Joe Flacco, that would be a win.
Right. Let's go to story number 14. Najee Harris still not practicing in the wake of that July 4th fireworks incident. Just bad, man. Like, he posted something on Instagram where he has a helmet/visor on, and you can see one of his eyes is open and the other one, the injured eye, looks shut. So basically he's walking laps. I mean, this is the stuff that the women in my neighborhood do. They put on this weighted vest and they walk in circles around the neighborhood. That's what Najee Harris is doing. My wife literally has a weighted vest. She walks with these women in the neighborhood. That's
People
all he's
do
done.
that in my neighborhood too.
That's all he's done so far. That's all he's done so far. So
it's kind of badass, actually. I should
So
start doing it
I,
actually.
I haven't taken Najee Harris, once since these rumors came out on the July 4th stuff. I think we feel good about our Hampton rank now. I don't know, Evan. They still say he's going to come back at some point, but we'll see. Any more thoughts on Chargers RB in the Najee situation?
Yeah, I just extreme level of skepticism about Najee Harris ever since this incident occurred.
Yeah. By the way, like I don't have Mixon on the list to talk about here today. We already kind of covered that, but Najee, Mixon, and Judkins are the three that I just like have not been taking, period, since news on them broke. And I feel pretty good about that still. Let's go to story number 15. Isaiah Likely sustained a small fracture in his foot. They're calling him questionable for week 1. This happened on July 30th, the small fracture in his foot. Timeline expected to be roughly 6 weeks on Isaiah Likely. Ravens have not ruled him out for week 1. I just thought nice boost anytime he's out for Mark Andrews. In the one game that Likely missed last season, Mark Andrews played a season high 89% of the snaps and was really productive. So I've been taking Mark Andrews a little bit higher than I normally would in the wake of this injury. But yeah, Evan, any thoughts on the Isaiah Likely foot fracture?
I've been getting a ton of Mark Andrews, and I'm surprised that he did not move up significantly after the Isaiah Likely injury because of all the things that you just said. I still think that Mark Andrews is playing at a fairly high level. It's just his playing time was cut when Isaiah Likely was active last year, and that's really the reason why he wasn't having 75, 100-yard games, but he was still scoring touchdowns. I think the Ravens are going to score a ton of touchdowns again, and Mark Andrews is their best red zone weapon. So I get him a lot. I also have started to get Isaiah Likely a lot as a tight end 3 because no one is drafting him, and he's explosive when he's on the field. And if something were to happen to Mark Andrews, I mean, you've been talking about this for years.
Yeah.
He's like the best tight end handcuff in the league, and he has some standalone value. So again, if we're investing in offenses, let's take Ravens.
Sure. And yeah, I mean, Likely, the reason I think Andrews hasn't come up that much is because Likely is expected to be back, week 1 or week 2. So people are kind of brushing off as no big deal. We did move Mark Andrews up to 89 overall in our half.
But no one wants to draft Isaiah Likely, though, for some reason.
Yeah, agreed. Once he gets the Q tag or whatever, the out tag on DraftKings, guys just start falling like a rock. Story number 16, Hollywood Brown, ankle injury. I mean, God, man, this guy's been hurt now for basically his entire Chiefs career. Matt Nagy had a quote about Hollywood Brown. It said, "It's got to happen quickly when he gets back. Whenever that is, he's got to go full speed and get timing down." It doesn't sound great on this ankle injury, week to week more than day to day on Marquise Brown right now. It's just I want to be I'm out on him, but while Rashee Rice is out, they don't have a lot of other choices here. What do you think about Chiefs wide receiver and Hollywood Brown's injury, Evan?
Yeah, it's just really frustrating. I mean, I opened training camp excited about the Chiefs offense. I thought that maybe this could be, the year where we get back to Patrick Mahomes throwing 35 or 40 touchdown passes. He's got what looked like a really good the best three receiver set that he's had in years on paper. And it's just all falling apart already.
Yeah.
It's really nice that Josh Simmons has immediately grabbed that left tackle position. I love that for the Chiefs because now they can move Jalen Moore, who they gave money to potentially play left tackle. He's competing at right tackle with Jawan Taylor, who stinks. So they can maybe upgrade 2 positions by getting Josh Simmons to grab that left tackle job, but the weapons they're not there. How do you feel about Tyquan Thornton has been generating a ton of buzz? Tyquan Thornton, he of the 8-inch hands.
Yeah, I mean, you can go down the list of kind of bit players that the Chiefs have had, and yeah, you can pop up for a big Kadarius Toney game or a big Sky Moore game, but to think about these guys doing consistently, I don't think they're good enough to do so. Justin Watson, I'd put in the same category there. The one I'm more intrigued by is Jalen Royals, who I think has a more similar skill set to Rashee Rice. And I think
Kadarius Toney, man, there is a name. He's not even in the league anymore, is he?
Correct. Still was down to 148 overall on Hollywood Brown. Let's get to some disgruntled wide receiver stories. First, Terry McLaurin trade requests. So no new news here, other than McLaurin's holding in, holding out, whatever you want to call it. And then he goes public last week with a trade request. But I didn't think that was that big a deal. I mean, that's standard negotiating procedure when you're holding out. Like, fine, you don't want to pay me? Trade me. And sometimes teams will say, sure, go find someone that's actually willing to pay you what you think you're worth. If you find it, sure, we'll trade you. And then the player goes and realizes that at age 30, coming off this outlier TD rate season, you're not getting DK Metcalf money. So it seems like it's real chippy and controversial and ugly right now. My bet is still this works out, but we're up to August 8th right now. They do not seem close at all. Evan, what do you think about the McLaurin situation?
This should not be difficult for the sides to figure out because they just got a blueprint, a template for Terry McLaurin to sign when Courtland Sutton signed his deal with the Broncos. Their numbers, their age, they've been like almost identical. It's just McLaurin wants too much money.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to figure it out. Again, we have a full month before the season starts. We'd like to get him in sooner rather than later. And hopefully that happens. But I mean, they do have a blueprint to figure this out. I mean, they're going to have to give him more money than Courtland Sutton got. But I mean, right now he's asking for too much.
Yeah. We're hanging in. We're at 46 overall on McLaurin in the ranks. Evan's at 42 overall on McLaurin in the ranks. So we're hanging in there in kind of in the mid 40s. Other disgruntled wide receiver that I didn't put on the sheet here, this Tyreek Hill stuff. I mean, the vibes are so bad, man. It seems like my twin. By the way, that joke, man, like it's people. So many people sent it to me. The one where he says, like, it's a great day because we're another day closer to death. Like, so many people sent that to me because
that's
it is
something that you would say.
And I've 100% said that. I don't mean it. I don't mean it. I just think it's funny. But anyways, seems like Tyreek. It seems like Mike McDaniel's pissed at Tyreek. Seems like Tua is pissed at Tyreek. He hasn't been in practice this week. There's some groin issue. Seems like he's like breaking down mentally also. The vibes are just really bad on Tyreek. We did move him up a lot after Jonnu was traded. But man, he goes like 20th, 22nd, 24th overall. That's been a bit steep for me of late. Evan, how worried are you about the vibes around Tyreek Hill right now?
Yeah, I think I'm at like 55 drafts and I have 0 Tyreek. Mm-hmm. It's just there is not a single positive data point that you could point to since like maybe the 2023 season.
Yeah.
I mean, his season last year was a disaster on the field and off the field. He's old. He's got problems with his coach and his quarterback. I mean, I don't know. Like, I still think that like he might not last the season on the Dolphins roster. I think he might go somewhere else. I think the Chiefs should try to trade for him.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't think about that. That'd be super interesting.
It'd be exciting.
I mean, my concern is the Dolphins could be bad. Like the bottom could totally fall out of this team. And at that point, maybe you can work out a deal with the Chiefs. Like they could be bad though. The Dolphins for sure. Okay. Story 18. Speaking of holdouts or hold-ins, James Cook is not practicing. So what happened here is James Cook showed up to camp, said he didn't want to get fined or whatever, participates in the first 8 practices. Then out of nowhere, on the 9th day, James Cook says, you know what, I'm not practicing, citing quote-unquote business. Now, James Cook is in the final year of his rookie deal. He's set to make a little over $5 million. Brandon Beane suggested that they made an offer. He's saying it takes 2. We need to find what the sweet spot is. We're not afraid to pay running backs. A lot of people are like, oh, after the Kyren deal, you can get the James Cook deal done. And maybe that's true. But Kyren is actually a true 3-down back. James Cook only played 48% of the snaps last year, losing a lot to Ray Davis and Ty Johnson. So if the Bills want to say the Kyren deal is a comp, but not a great one, I might be on the Rams side there. Evan, what do you think about James Cook? How worried are you about him getting here for week 1?
What do you mean you might be on the Rams side? You mean you might be on James Cook's side?
I might agree that Kyren's role and usage deserves more money than James Cook's role and usage. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, James Cook just led the NFL in rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
So he feels like he's, a premier back and, he's got the stats to prove it. And I mean, he's definitely more explosive than Kyren Williams, but I get you. Yeah, he's not a 3-down back. They have 2 other backs that they are going to use, Ray Davis and Ty Johnson.
Yeah.
I thought that it's similar to me to the Courtland Sutton, Terry McLaurin situation, but it's just James Cook obviously values himself more than, his agency sees Kyren Williams.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is a blueprint there for them to work off of.
Yeah. Evan is at 32 overall here on James Cook, which is right in line with ADP. I think if we start getting closer on McLaurin, and like if it's 2 weeks out and they haven't reported yet, we might start putting some docs on there if they are not getting any practice then. But again, we're still 4 weeks out. One more holdout, this Jauan Jennings stuff, not practicing. Jauan Jennings also wants a contract. Says he has a calf issue. He's not practicing. It's most likely related to the contract. I still think this one gets done. Maybe they put some incentives in his deal. Silva's at 64 overall on Jauan Jennings. And also Silva, Brandon Ayuk is in an absolute free fall. I mean, Brandon Ayuk I've seen go in like the 140s lately at times. So I talked about that on Market Monday. But yeah, any thoughts on Jennings, Ayuk, and the 49ers wide receivers right now?
I really don't have any new thoughts. Just trying to get as much Ricky Pearsall as I can.
Yeah.
Because he's been balling out. And that rapport that they are developing in training camp that they did not develop last year between Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall, that to me is very important.
Yeah.
So it's just good news for Ricky Pearsall.
By the way, I've been reading a bunch of 49ers stuff. The reports on Christian McCaffrey have been glowing, man. I mean, absolutely glowing. So I know one of people's biggest complaints about man versus machine was the way I scored the CMC debate. And yes, perhaps they were right.
Yeah, you've been catching a lot of heat. I actually think that McCaffrey won, or that Leone won the McCaffrey debate.
Yes.
And if you would have given him that, it would have been 10-10.
Well, believe me, I wasn't going to let it end 10-10. So no matter what the right scoring should have been, it was not ending 10-10. There's no ties out here. All right. A couple more small things to get to here. Jaden Blue hype from Cowboys camp. I just want to note this because we talked about the lazy report on Jaden Blue before camp. Then he gets into camp and it's all rave reviews about Jaden Blue's professionalism and his work ethic. He did bruise a heel on Thursday. Doesn't sound overly serious. Silva is at 102 overall on Jaden Blue. But yeah, it's just good news that the lazy stuff seems to be like put to bed. Any more thoughts on Jaden Blue, Evan?
I just think that was his reputation from college. Young dudes can grow up. Maybe he's starting to grow up. He becomes a pro. He grows up. We'll see. We know that we can get him at a pretty cheap price in draft. He's really explosive. He's got a lot of opportunity. I'm drafting him.
Yeah, I mean, the difference for me between Blue and Tootin is Javonte and Miles Sanders just like can't play. Whereas I still think that Bigsby and ETN are actual NFL caliber players, NFL caliber borderline starters, so.
Yeah. I wonder if the Cowboys might consider making a deal for a running back.
People keep putting that out there. They said that they're not going outside the building, but people keep putting that out there. We'll see. Story 21. Tony Horton, one of the most buzzy rookies of camp, reports out of Seattle that he is playing ahead of MVS at times in practices. This is Tony Horton, round 5 rookie out of Colorado State. People have speculated that MVS could be cut. Now, they'd only save $1 million by cutting MVS. So that one would surprise me. But at the very least, this round 5 rookie is breathing down MVS's neck. Evan, what do you think about him and his chances of contributing here in year 1?
Okay, what are you calling him?
Oh, God, did I get his name wrong?
What did you call him?
Oh, I call him Tony. It's Tory Horton.
Okay, yeah. All right, Tory Horton.
They're going to kill me. Producer Ryan, I'm going to record myself saying his name right after this, and then you can dub it in.
No, he's not doing that. Tory Horton, 6'3", 196, 4'4", 140. He had an interesting college career because he was really productive. God, these guys all play like 5 and 6 years. It's so annoying. And for multiple colleges, he had 1,131 yards as I don't even know what you call it, a junior, a sophomore, in back-to-back years. And then he got hurt his final season at Colorado State, winds up going in the 5th round. I mean, indications are that he is like beating out Marquez Valdez-Scantling, right?
Which isn't saying that much.
It's
MVS
not saying that much,
yeah.
But MVS does have a history with Clint Kubiak, and he had some big games. You remember down the stretch, like they felt so fluky with the Saints.
Yeah.
But I mean, he did have, he gave them some legit production.
Yeah.
And then he resurfaces with Clint Kubiak in Seattle, and they did give him $3 million guaranteed. But it sounds like Tory Horton is beating him out.
Yeah. And he had a touchdown in the preseason game last night, for what it's worth.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. Drew Lock airmailed a bunch of his targets to Torrey Horton, but when Drew Lock put it on the money, like Torrey Horton was catching it, and he looked fast.
Speaking of that game last night, you guys got to check out the clip of, and I've tweeted these clips before of Jalen Milroe running, but my God, this dude like runs
Yeah.
better than Lamar. Like, I'm not exaggerating. Like, this dude is an
Yeah.
insane runner
Yeah.
with the football. So we'll see if he gets any starts this year. But yeah. All right, last one to get to here. Story 22 was the Bengals stuff. First story that I had was Noah Fant, cut by Seattle, did a bunch of visits, Miami, I think New Orleans, a couple others. Ends up signing with the Bengals, which was surprising to me a little bit because they have Mike Gesicki. I think they were looking for more of an inline depth option. Did the Noah Fant signing make you move at all on Mike Gesicki, Evan?
It just made me. Yeah, I moved him down a little bit. He was never in the top 150 anyways, but it made me like just not want to draft him. I mean, I think that this is going to be a rotation. You know, they're going to use a bunch of tight ends, and it's going to require a T. Higgins or Jamar Chase injury for any of these guys to even have a chance at being actually fantasy relevant.
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge downgrade for Gesicki. I was taking him a decent amount as my third tight end in best ball on DK. I thought he basically is playing wide receiver, a third or fourth wide receiver for them. And then if something happens to T or Chase, you get a lot more. But yeah, I've downgraded him slightly, like half round for me on Gesicki with the Fant news. Last note from the preseason game last night, the Bengals preseason game last night, they've gotten off to so many slow starts. So this year they were like, you know what? Screw it, man. We're just going to play our starters in this preseason game. Joe Burrow ends up getting 16 snaps. Chase Brown was in for 12 of those. Samaje Perine only came in for clear pass downs. They left Chase Brown in for 3rd and 1. And then Taj Brooks didn't even get in the game until Burrow was already gone. So Evan and I have been super high on Chase Brown going back to last year. And this year, one of my favorite players, one of my favorite picks. We're at 18 overall, which is well above market here on Chase Brown. And I think Evan has him roughly in that same range.
I have him at 16.
Yeah.
You guys are catching up. I don't like it.
Yep. Big time usage for Chase Brown coming this season. All right. That is going to do it for this look at the latest news around the NFL and how it has changed our rankings. If you're serious about fantasy football, you need to be following us on Twitter at Adam Levitan, all one word, at Evan Silva, all one word. And then also be sure to subscribe here on YouTube. It is indeed free. Ton more shows coming. We're doing a Man vs. Machine follow-up show next week. Also, myself, Silva, and Leone are doing a live stream of an FFPC draft next week, $2,200 buy-in. I'm sure there will be no arguments whatsoever about who to pick during that live draft. For Evan, producer Ryan, producer Luke, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.